Look, folks, it's time for the NBA draft, whether you like it or not. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew, and we're back to talk all things Philly sports now. The NBA draft is here. The NBA draft 2025 is here, as in Wednesday, June 25th. This episode will be going up that morning. I love myself. The Sixers have the number 3 overall pick, and let me tell you, there has been so much off-season drama. I mean, we haven't really talked about it. I think there might be an episode or two where we have a quick comment, but are the Sixers going to trade down? Are the Sixers going to trade up? Are the Sixers getting rid of Paul George? Are the Sixers getting KD? Are the Sixers blah 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 sign better? It doesn't matter. But hey, let's try and pretend like it does. The Sixers are at this point in time still at the number 3 spot, and I think that's very it could change tomorrow, today when the podcast goes up. It could be whatever, right? Like I don't know if the NBA has some kind of rule I don't know about, but I mean anything can happen. Hell, they could do the thing they did with Bridges, right? And draft someone and then just trade him.
Don't remind me.
It's we all hate it. We all think about it all the time, I think. This is also coming after the Oklahoma City Thunder have won the finals, so congrats to them and to the state of Oklahoma, I guess. I don't really care. Bleh. Anyway, the Sixers at number 3. I Look. This is an Andrew podcast. I'm just being front and center with you. I'm gonna watch the draft, probably. I'm gonna follow the draft, definitely. I'm gonna, follow updates. We're gonna tweet about it. We're gonna talk about it. But Andrew knows this, and I am sitting here looking at the college kids that are gonna get drafted. And I know them because they've been talking about them on morning shows that I listen to, but I don't know them. So I'm going to hand it over to Andrew in a minute. I'm going to set him up. And in the end, I'll tell him how there's projections to go. And we'll see. We'll see if we get this right. It is the number 3 pick, which you would think would be an easy 1, 2, 3 situation. But I do know with this draft, the only overall known thing is Cooper Flag going first, right? So pretty much anyone can go second and third. So it'll be a very interesting conversation. It's very interesting to see who the Spurs take. I don't know if Andrew's got insider knowledge on who the Spurs are interested in. That I do not know. I will say from what I've heard, disagrees with this projected draft list already. So hot start, hot take. Let's get into it. Andrew, let's start nice and easy. Do the Sixers stay at number 3?
I think when it's all said and done, they'll stay at 3. I think the options will be there. I think Cooper Flag and Dylan Harper will be off the board at 3 if you stay at 3. That leaves you with 4 real possible picks at 3. I think if he wasn't being such a headache right now, I think Ace Bailey would definitely be the front runner for that pick.
He's the guy that refused to do the workouts, right?
Correct. Yeah, Sixers had everything set up. They had his flight booked. They had him set up for dinner. They had him set up for workouts the next day, and he canceled on them the morning of. I think.
I do want to say you guys were talking about, you were texting about the off the podcast, but Andrew was texting. They were talking about this Ace Bailey canceled on the Sixers. Sucks. Shitty thing to do. Kid's a kid. Get your head out of your ass. But he did cancel on multiple teams. It wasn't just the Sixers.
Correct. This is not a Sixers issue. This is an Ace Bailey issue.
I do
And
think that's important because while the Sixers are dog shit right now and a dog shit organization, and I hate them, I do think it's important to when we're talking about this Ace Bailey kid, I think it's important to specify that he kind of sucks more than the Sixers right now, like as a human.
yeah, I mean, I, it's always tough because I don't know whose fault it is. I feel like in this day and age, too, these agents direct a lot of their ways. And I don't know if he's getting bad advice. I don't know if this is all 100% on his end. I don't know if it's 50-50 with him and his agent. I do want to give him the benefit there because you just don't know in the end. So I
Sure.
do think he's getting some bad advice from his agent because regardless, even if he was like, listen, I don't want to do these workouts, that's where his agent needs to step in and kind of be a guider for him, be like, no, you should do these work. Like, this is your future. Like, so. I will say that end, like it's an interesting kind of case how you want to look at it in that front. But to your point, yes, he to multiple teams. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I wonder if he shows up at the draft. Like, is he one of those guys that doesn't even go to the draft, right? And we've had that, but people like that in the past as well. So I'm very curious to see if he is there in the draft on draft night
But I'm also
because
curious the
at this
Ace Bailey
point,
thing. I'm curious where it goes because to me this is very Shador Sanders. Like I would say Ace Bailey is a much better player compared to Shador Sanders. Like basketball to football. Like, but I think the situation is very similar in the sense that people are all hearing about this. Like I just did a whole thing about how I don't know these college players, but I know this kid because of how much
eh,
shit he's stirring up. So like I think he's kind of digging a hole for himself. I wouldn't be shocked if he's taken way later than it like I look when it comes to being a first round pick, top 5 pick, you're going to make a ton of money in life, I assume. I can see this kid going out of the top 10. It like crazy. Like and
I think he'll still be top 10. I think the difference, I understand your comparison. The only difference is this draft isn't that strong. So,
true.
like, I think at that point, a team will just take him. I see the farthest he would drop, and I could be wrong, obviously, but I think the farthest he drop would be no later than 7.
I think, but that's I'm going off of I've watched way more NFL draft than NBA draft, but that's kind of the funny thing with drafts, right? Anything can happen. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, a complete shock could happen. So we'll see. But anyway, Andrew thinks the Sixers overall will stay with that number 3 pick. Uh, you did say so. Harper is expected to go second. We all said Flag at first. So who are you anticipating the Sixers to take? And is it the same person you want them to take?
I think with all the stuff that's happening, I think the Sixers in the end will pass on Ace Bailey. I think at this point it's probably the smart move if he's already doing all this. That tells me he's expecting to go in and be a starter, which he won't be with the Sixers, obviously. And I think when it's all said and done, I want the Sixers to go VJ Edgecombe. I think that's who they'll go with in the end. He's a player from Baylor, very athletic, very good two-way player, can score, can defend. I think that's who the Sixers will get. He apparently impressed them personality-wise. He had good workouts as well. So I think in the end, I think that's who they're going to go with. You know, I think that's the best move for them at this stage too. So I think that's a solid move. I think if they pass on him, my next pick would be Con Canoopel. And I think he's another guy that Duke can shoot better. So again, I think those two guys are who you'd rather get. There's obviously other names in this draft. Trey Johnson out of Texas is another guy that's been thrown out there. He's a very good player. I just don't see him. I think he's more of a Maxie McCain spot. So I think that's part of the problem is there's so many guards up here, which you don't necessarily need. So it is going to be a guy that you're going to look at as a depth piece this first year before kind of throwing him mainly into the rotation. And I think that's the move. So I think in the end they're going to get VJ Edgecombe from Baylor, and I think that's the right pick, assuming they stay at 3.
I will
There's
say
been rumors. There's rumors they'll try to trade, maybe unload Paul George's contract and move down to the 5-6 range. I've seen that thrown out there. So there's a lot to happen, potentially to happen. My dream scenario would be to trade up to number two. I love Dylan Harper. I would absolutely love to get Harper in this draft. I'd love for them to do a swap with the Spurs. I mean, I don't think obviously yes, everyone would love to go get Cooper Flag. That's obviously the ultimate, but I
Yeah,
think
but
that's not realistic. I think
if
it's
you'd love to
realistic to
get
move up to
Harper
two.
because he's a realistic ability, though, what do you anticipate the Spurs would need for that?
I think you obviously give them the
Two
three
for
with it.
three, three for two, blah, blah,
Then
blah.
yeah, and then you'd give up a future. I'd be willing to give up a future first round pick. Again, I think you'd have to maybe throw in a player there. I don't know if Jerry McCain. I don't know if that would be the price it do. I don't know. I think in the end you could probably get away with multiple picks. Sixers have the picks to give up. I think you maybe could throw in your second rounder at 35, which is close to the first round, obviously. So essentially it's the back end of the first round. If teams look at it that way, you could do again a future first round pick, and you have guys to offer as well. I mean, you have an expiring contract. I mean, that's what's weird about the NBA. They always offload all these contracts. So I think again the Spurs ask for a lot. They'll ask for some picks. But it would be similar to the Celtics trade when you moved from 3 to 1 that year when you got Fultz, actually. So you gave up a couple future first rounders in that trade. So obviously you moved up 2 spots and got number one. This one going up 1 spot to two, so it'd be a little less. And you didn't have to give up. I don't think they gave up any players in that deal, so I wouldn't worry about that front. So again, I think that's the move. You give up. I'm willing to give up two future first rounders. I think Dylan Harper can be just as good as Cooper Flag. He's going to be a game changer for the Spurs, assuming they stay at two. And I think he much of a difference where he could come in and make an immediate impact. Where I think everybody else you get at three will take a little bit to develop into your system.
It's crazy that fall, right? Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, everyone else.
Yeah,
It's
no, it is,
just how everyone
and
talks about it.
And at the start of the season, Ace Bailey was looked at that way with Harper and Flag, but he's really kind of hurt his draft stock, and he had a solid year in college, but part of his knock, and same with Harper is they played on the same team in Rutgers, right? And they didn't sniff the March Madness, like they didn't come close to it. 68 teams make the March Madness. They didn't come close to making the March Madness. And you had two potential top five draft picks on your team. And I get they battled some injuries through the year, but that's just crazy to think about. They had two top five NBA draft picks and they couldn't even get to the March Madness. So that's hurt his stock a little bit as well, in that sense. So there's a lot of things that go into this, and it's a shame, that you see these guys do this, and whether they're directed the wrong way or not. But yeah, so in the end, yeah, going back to Flag and Harper are the standout players here, and we'll see what happens. I think Sixers got a lot on their hand. They got to get this right. I think that's no secret with what's happened over the last year and the development. Obviously Embiid couldn't stay healthy, George couldn't stay healthy, Maxey even got hurt, and then you had McCain tear his ACL. So again, there's a lot riding on this draft pick.
God,
They
I
can't.
constantly forget McCain exists.
Yeah,
Like
like it's
we
just.
have a good young player on the team. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing about it too is like you look at what happened in the playoffs, and you don't wish anybody to get hurt, right? I mean, I'm not no, you don't wish anything, but the guys, top players in this NBA, got hurt, and they all came from the Eastern Conference. You had the Celtics lose Jason Tatum to torn Achilles. You had the Milwaukee Bucks lose Dame Lillard to a torn Achilles, and then in the NBA Finals, you had the Indiana Pacers lose Tyrese Halliburton to a torn Achilles. Like when it's all said and done, those three guys are obviously three of the best players in the East, and they're all out for the entirety of next year. The Eastern Conference will be wide open. That is why it's so important for Morey to ace this offseason. Like it, and
and
it
I
all
guess I'll
starts.
I'll follow that up real quick, Andrew. Do you trust Daryl Morey to ace this offseason?
I trust him to get the offseason right more than I trust the Sixers to stay healthy next year. I don't know, like if that makes sense.
But like
And that's
okay,
why you have to take it with the
let me
that's why
let
you have
me
to take it with a
devil
grain of salt, is because the
let me
Sixers are
argue
just as
here.
banged
I'm
up
gonna
as
argue
anybody
now.
else.
I'm gonna argue. Like you just talked about offloading Paul George's contract. Are you trying to get rid of Paul George in your if in your in Andrew's GM world? Are you getting rid of Paul George right now?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so that's you're not against Morey because you're not angry at him for the Paul George contract, is your opinion.
No, I think you knew where Embiid was at. You had to go in one last hope, and it started with George. And I think Embiid getting hurt really dictated last season. I think this team knew without Embiid, they're not going anywhere. Embiid gets hurt, only plays 19 games, and it doesn't matter to me at least if Paul George went out and dropped 40 a game last year, right? I think this team was so banged up left and right. I think Morey's issue was he bought into a lot of old veterans, and that caused the depth to even go thin there. So I think that's where his mistake was. He's talked about the mistake already this offseason and learn and moving on and learning from it. Now, obviously, it's easier to go out there and say that in a press conference. Will he actually go and follow through with his word is the question. And I mean, listen, this guy at this point, I think he knows if he doesn't get this offseason right, he's not going to have a job next year. I mean, I think that's the reality of the situation. So he knows what's at stake, not only for the Sixers, but his job security as well in Philadelphia. And I think, but that being said, I think he can get it right. And I think I got more faith he gets tomorrow or Wednesday night right than the actual overall offseason. I mean, you look at some of his recent draft picks, right? And Maxey, he got that really well in the late first round. You look at McCain before his injury, he couldn't predict that, right? So he got that pick right as well. So recently, since Morey has taken over, they have gotten solid draft picks from Daryl Morey. So I have hope that he can get this third pick right, and then it comes down to the free agency. So it'll be interesting to see on top of that. And obviously, there's been a lot of trades already around the NBA since the end of the season. You mentioned Kevin Durant; he got moved to Houston, so you saw the Celtics have made two big trades this offseason already, kind of offloading some of their contracts and getting rid of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. So you look at them, and they become more vulnerable this year in this offseason. So there's a lot happening already, and I think Morey's going to be active, and he knows he has to.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I got one more follow-up question regarding the NBA draft. I wanted to ask, is there an outcome that specifically upsets you if it happens? Is there a player? Is there a trade? Is there anything rumored or that you think could happen that specifically you're like, for the love of God, do not do this?
I go back and forth. I've already been trying to prepare myself if they do end up taking Ace Bailey because of the talent is there, but like I just don't know if it's the right move at this point because again, if you're healthy, he's not going to be a starter, and I feel like he's kind of trying to dictate it where he's an automatic important star player starting in the lineup, and so I go back and forth, but because of his talent, I don't think I get to that level. I think it's okay, let's see how he adjusts. I honestly, personally, would be. I mean, obviously, it depends on the return, but I would be pretty disappointed in trading down. I just don't see. I know a lot of people have said that's kind of their hope, but I don't see the benefit in trading down. I mean, because if you're trading down, that also kind of tells me you're offloading Paul George. But I kind of want to see what. I mean, listen, he signed a 4-year deal. I want to see what he has to offer with as healthy as a team as possible, and I think with that being said, that's your answer. I think trading down is going to be a disappointing move for me because I think I already talked about it. The lack of talent. I don't want to say lack of talent. That's the wrong word. The drop off in talent, as we just talked about. I think that goes outside the top five as well. So if you're trading down outside the top five, which has been a rumor as well, I don't see the benefit in that. I don't like that, unless it's maybe the only way you can kind of defend, in my opinion, if it's with a team with multiple draft picks. I know the Nets have 5 first-round draft picks, so maybe if you pick up 2 first-rounders and you're trying to go really young and you get 2 first-rounders in this draft, then maybe that's an option. But definitely, I would say trading down. I'm in no interest in trading down
All right,
if I'm the Sixers.
I'll give you that then. So let's. I don't think I officially said it, but Edgecombe is kind of the projected player to land with the Sixers tomorrow. So anyway, we'll see. Thank you for sticking around for a Sixers draft hype podcast, folks. You can find us on social media. Links are in the description below. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow on Spotify if you haven't already. We appreciate every single one. Yeah, I mean, look, I already mentioned it, but I am at a point where the Sixers just Me and them need a little bit of a break, and it's just not doing it for me. And yeah, I'll watch the draft tomorrow. We'll see if maybe we can move up and get a Harper. That'll get it going a little bit. And if we don't move up, let's see who they take. Let's see what happens. I need to get some serious momentum going in this offseason, and this draft is going to be a big first step. So we'll see. Thank you everyone for listening to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. I'm Zach, that's Andrew, and as always, play the song. Good night.